And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we doing tonight on this beautiful April 8th, 2025? This is Rick Cast. I'm Rick, and I'm glad that you're with me this evening. We got a great show for you, as always. So please do me a favor, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell wherever you are, whether that's Rumble, YouTube. If you're on X, repost the stream. My Twitch stream user, salute to you as you are keeping it locked down, as the kids used to say. I don't know what the kids say anymore because I'm in my 40s and that just, it means I'm old. So it happens. It's fine. Anyway, I'm glad that you guys are doing well, and I'm starting to see my guys and gals in the YouTube chat funnel in. I got some people over in Rumble too. I see you guys. What you guys doing over there? We're doing real well, and I'm happy that you guys are here. So let's get started tonight. And I got three really good hot takes. I really apologize. I wanted to talk about the Trump Gaza thing last night. And I didn't. I think I still have the video, actually. Let's start off with that because I definitely want to talk about that. And then if you were here last night, you saw how things got a little sidetracked a little quickly with whatever was happening last night. So we had that planned. I don't know if I still have it. If I don't, I'm not going to spend too much time. I do have it. So I really wanted to spend some time on it because we're actually kind of seeing it as well in the conservative circles, and I call them the Trump sycophants. But Trump met with Netanyahu yesterday at the White House, and he had this to say. So I wanted to get this out in the open before we get into episode 85 was interesting. And it really reminded me that you can't talk to liberals. You hope to be able to want to talk to liberals, but if they're in a certain mindset, it's non-negotiable. Anyway, this is what Trump had to say when the issue of Gaza came up.
The Gaza Strip. I think it's an incredible piece of important real estate. And I think it's something that we would be involved in, but, having a peace force like the United States there, controlling and owning the Gaza Strip would be a good thing. Because right now, all it is for years and years, all I hear about is killing and Hamas and problems. And if you take the people, the Palestinians, and move them around to different countries, and you have plenty of countries that will do that.
I just want to pause it right there. Peace force. So now we have boots on the ground in Gaza. We're also talking about the ethnic cleansing of the Palestinians there. Are we also considering the Palestinian Christians that are living in Gaza? Or are we just roping them all out and tossing them out? Who is going to be controlling? So the peace force of the United States is going to be there. Who's going to be owning it? Somebody's got to own it. Who's the owner of it? So I don't like this at all. Of course, the Trump sycophantic yeah, that's right. That's it. That's the only one. Kingdom of Jerusalem, baby. That's my solution as well. As the meme goes when somebody says Israel or Palestine, and then it's Henry Cavill, and he's like, Rome. So that's me. But this idea is, jettisoning the Palestinians out of the Middle East. Silence. This thing's been up for 2 days. Silence from your Catholic Trump supporters. The Trump sycophantic circuit, as I'm starting to call it, because I want to throw my F's all over the place, like Mike Tyson, is terrible. And I'm relating this, and I should have had the Benny Johnson clip. I didn't know I was going to go here. That's the problem with me setting up for shows, is I have an idea, and then my ADD brain's like, squirrel, let's talk about this. There's a video of Benny Johnson talking about the market on Monday. He's like, losing money's good for you. It actually builds character. Shut your blanking mouth, Benny Johnson. You're getting paid by the Trump circuit. People are losing money, and you're telling them it's okay. Same thing here. Trump can tie his shoes, and you're going to get 400 YouTube videos about how Trump he's the greatest tire of shoes ever. He's so good. People sell out for a quick buck. And there's no pushback. No pushback from Catholics. Hey, no ethnic cleansing. I didn't elect you. You were supposed to be the peace president. What's this ethnic cleansing thing? But I just wanted to get that out there because I wanted to talk about it yesterday. We didn't get a chance to. I want to be on the record. I call out liberals and conservatives anywhere, anytime, any topic. Where is conservative media on this? Right? We all said Trump was going to be the peace president. We all said Trump was going to, he's going to end the wars, right? If his idea of ending the wars is a mass genocide in Gaza, so we can put up a Buc-ee's, which, Saul salute to Buc-ee's, so we can put up a Walmart and an NFL franchise there, I'm not for it. I'm not. What the hell we had? What's the difference between him and Joe Biden? What's the difference? There is none. But hey, don't worry, because your Trump sycophantic circuit, including many prominent Catholics, a lot of guys that are revered very highly, they go to Mar-a-Lago, they go to all these places, they tell you Trump is the greatest. Didn't say anything about the IVF stuff. I'm not saying nobody does. I'm not trying to say that. I'm saying you know who I'm talking about when I say high-level Catholics. They're even high-level Catholics, mid-level Catholics. They're all trying to get in there. Hey, what's up, Brian? So, yeah. Steve, I follow Steve's lead, obviously, on that one. But there's, they don't want to piss off, and I'm sorry for the language. They don't want to upset the Trump sycophantic circuit because that, Trump he'll cut that spigot off. And that's a lot of money, man. And I know people that have sold out hard trying to get into the Trump I got to come up with a better name. I sound like an idiot. The circle of Trump. They've sold out hard, go to try to get into and I get it. There's a lot of money there. I get it. Believe me. It's a temptation. It's a temptation because you get locked into that. You get to go to the parties and you get to go to Mar-a-Lago and you're living back in the high life again, to quote the song, which was really used well in, I can't, what's the show with the guy in Montana who's the sheriff? Longmire, used very well in Longmire. That's where I get it from. But I just want to get this on the table. So let's move on. This is Rick Cast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. You're not going to get Trump worship here. And if that means I only get 31 people to watch this show, then guess what? I'm happy with the 31 people watching this show. As long as y'all hit that like button. But, oh, I'm kidding. But really hit the like button, please. So let's get to our next. Yeah, well, there's a place for that, buddy. Let's get to our first hot take for today. Because I want to make sure my opinion, obviously my opinions are so important. That's why I do this. But I just want to make my opinion known on that and say, hey, I don't agree with it. I don't agree with genocide. That's not the course of action. And I don't want young Americans to go to Gaza to die for real estate. I don't agree with it. All right. Let's get to our first hot take of the day. Our first video. You're done, Trump. Bye. Goodbye, Trump. Goodbye. I'm getting kind of. First of all, my gun guys, what is wrong with this picture? Because something is. Actually, there's a lot wrong with this picture, but there's one thing that jumps right out at you when you see this, especially people who've handled firearms before. It just blows my mind when I see this. We got to stop with the photo ops. Okay? DHS Bunny needs to stop with this. It's embarrassing. It's just it reeks of clown world operations. All right? If you have to take videos to tell everybody how good you're doing, that tells me you're not doing a good job. It tells me that you're trying to convince me that you're doing a good job. First of all, get that stinking gun pointed at the ground. She's supposed to be some like hunter gun girl. I mean, the good thing the guy to her left is not a dog, because he would be DED dead. dead, just dead right on the spot. That guy's left. He's like, I hope he gave that lady an empty mag. I hope your gun is empty. I hope it's empty. But she's dressing up. She's wearing her kit. She's got, DHS secretary. And of course, the boomers on Fox News, as I've been talking about, I talked about it last week. I talk about all that. The fact we cannot control our lower faculties. And I'm in that boat with you guys. I love food. It really is a struggle for me. I'm doing the best I can, but I fail more often than not. So when I talk about lower faculties, I'm talking about it here too. I struggle with it. Most men, it's lust. Most men, it's lust. And she's so hot. Look how hot she looks. Oh man, yeah. Look, you see, so we got our boss babe. We don't need a boss babe. We need somebody to do the job. My nicotine is getting all over the place because I'm getting excited. Anyway, take a listen to Boss Babe.
Here we are with Marco and Brian today.
He said, "Get that gun out of here!"
We're going to go out and pick up somebody who I think is got charges of human trafficking. We earlier had an op that swept up somebody who was wanted for murder. So appreciate the good work that they do every day, and we appreciate them working to make America safe.
I mean, I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to emulate the model in El Salvador, where El Salvador had all those videos that the conservatives were like, oh, this is the way to do it when they were rounding up the gang members. But come up with your own stuff, man. Come up with your own stuff. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And I don't know what the hell happened on Rumble. There we go. Sorry. And it's awful. I can't do this. I really can't. And then there was another video where she had libs of TikTok going with her on another roundup. Like, can you just do your job? Can you just do the job and not have to tell us? Yeah, we're not El Salvador for a reason. That's a great point. But, guys on Fox News, oh, yeah, look at this. We're kicking butt. Whatever. Just, it's pathetic. But really, it's the gun. Like, this should not be like this. He shouldn't even be like this. What are you guys doing? Have some respect. Have some dignity. I don't know. Everybody wants to be a star. Everybody wants to be a star. But anyway, this is Rick Cast. We are going over our hot takes. We got 2 more today. Jasmine Crockett. We have to, it almost is becoming like a weekly thing. Jasmine. Oh, Jasmine. Sweet, sweet Jasmine. Thank you for giving me content. I'm not, no introduction needed. Come on, girl.
Go around the country and educate people about.
Does she not look like the Joker in the purple suit? She's like DEI Joker with this outfit. First of all, her weave over here ain't sitting well. Should check that, but
What immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
Right.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands. You're not.
See, this is one thing that the left doesn't realize. Now, you can go to the black churches, right? And I don't know, obviously, I don't know anything about the black church, but I do know black men swung heavily for Trump. Do you think the men that went and voted for Trump, the members of the black men, black American men who voted for Trump, you think this is inspiring? You think they want to sit there and get lectured to by Miss Thang? I know y'all won't. What y'all doing? What you doing, man? Like, okay. The one thing I want to do is get lectured by a 43-year-old single woman who's pretending, because remember, here on Rick Cast and other places in conservative media, but Rick Cast was one of the first. I will tell you, Rick Cast was one of the first to talk about Jasmine Crockett's background and how she she went to the most expensive private high school, Catholic high school in St. Louis. She went to a $55,000 a year liberal arts college. So she's about as street as Taco Bell. but she's going to try and LARP and play Miss Thing because that's what the Democratic Party and party politics in general, everybody thinks something of their voter base, even Republicans. Obviously, that's why they have Bunny Gnome law. They have DHS Bunny because they think what Kristi Noem is doing and what Jasmine Crockett are doing are two sides of the same coin. They're both LARPing for their audience. But this is the best part.
We done picking cotton.
Miss Crockett, you have never picked cotton a day in your life. We have not had slave labor to pick cotton since the 1860s. I mean, posted with sharecropping and things like that. But the idea that you, in your entitled, privileged lifestyle, born to a pastor, you had a much wealthier childhood than I did. I didn't go to a private school. I went to a public school through public college, which is not a measure of anything. But the fact that she's saying, we done picking cotton, honey, I don't know if you ever were technically picking cotton. I don't think that was ever like your thing. But here she is trying to get people with the race baiting nonsense.
We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
I know that's right.
And so that's the viral moment. She continues to go on talking about how Mexicans are the ones that pick cotton and all these other things. But on the one hand, it's easy to dunk on her. She's stupid. Her weave's all up over there. She looks like the Joker's DEI counterpart. But at the same time, we also have to realize, remember, we call out both liberals and conservatives on this program. The video we just saw, Kristi Noem, is the exact same thing as Jasmine Crockett. They're both playing to an audience. They're both LARPing because they think that's what you the voter wants to see. And so, yes, is she ridiculous? Is she a joke? Yes, she's hysterical. But at the same time, understand Republicans do the exact same thing to you. Last one. This is a very interesting one. I don't know if you've seen this on interwebs, but it was trending on the social medias. Last hot take. We'll talk about this for a little bit.
Oh, he is rock iron.
So I saw this early this morning, and I obviously had to comment on it because that's what we do on social media. We comment on things. And I kind of split the baby on this, and I know people don't like that phrase, but the people that don't like that phrase don't watch this show anymore, so I'm going to continue to use it. Men need to understand, because we've been we've been emasculated. I said demasculized, like we've been emasculated so long that we've been told that we are not as strong as we are, and we have been neglecting nature. And the fact is, men are stronger than women. Even some of the weakest men, you'll see the viral posts, like regular guys are on par with women who, bodybuild and can bench press and do all these other things. But we've been led to believe through Marvel movies, when we watch 95-pound or maybe 105-pound Scarlett Johansson beating up 220-pound guys, and the Boss Babes and everything we've seen, Queen Latifah at 50 years old, punching out 30-year-old men, in The Equalizer and all these other kinds of things. We've been led to believe that men and women can compete on the physical stages equally, and that's just not the case. It's never been the case. But it gives us situations like this. And so I'm of two minds of this. One, men need to understand that even though this matriarchal culture wants to tell you you're weak, you are strong. You have natural bone density and strength that God has given you to be a protector and provider. Even that fat guy. A lot of people don't realize, like, it's going to be hard to hit like a fat guy, and there's, he's got a lot of weight behind his push, let's just say that. So the men need to understand their strength. However, However, women have been told you can do whatever you want. You can put your hands on the man. You can do this. You can yell. You can do all this other stuff to him. Here's the thing, Michael. You just don't hit a woman. Here's where I disagree with you. That woman has no right to invade your personal space. He warned her twice. Back up, back up. He didn't just do it out of the blue. And it's not like he hit her. A simple push. She's the one who flew back. I would actually, if I was a lawyer, I would defend this guy if it went to court. I would defend this guy if it went to court. I would say, listen, she violated his personal space. She hit him. It doesn't matter if the hit didn't do any damage. When she struck him, her intention was to harm him. That's why she did it. She thought she could punch him and harm him. And he said multiple times, back up, back up. And it's a no-win situation for the guy because now if he takes it, he looks weak. Oh, you let this girl just hit on you. At the same time, now that he pushes him, now that he pushes her, it's like, oh, why'd you push her? Listen, you don't go violating people's personal spaces. You just don't do it. You don't. Women cannot. I'm begging you, women. Women, there's not a lot of women that watch this show, especially after yesterday. But women, you are not stronger than men. Very few of you are going to punch a guy out. And unless there is one huge caveat to all of this. If that man is threatening your life or about to violate you, if you understand what I'm meaning, you do everything, punch, bite, kick, grab, do whatever you can to get away from him. That's an episode of self-defense. If you are mad at him, we don't know the context of this. We don't know why she hit him. But if you hit him and he responds with a soft push, by the way, we need to watch this. This is not a violent act. Go back. This is not a violent act. Punch. All right, maybe it's a little bit violent. Yeah, he did push for the neck. Still, you cannot violate spaces. He is within his right to get this person off of him. He cannot be responsible for how her body reacts. I know the chivalry thing and Michael Thomas, I get it. And a lot of me wants to agree with you. But chivalry died when women decided that it would be okay to try and prove how tough they are in public. If you want to step up, then he didn't punch her. There's Lou. How are you, Lou? If a woman is going to try and get physically aggressive with you and her life is not in danger, you have every right to push to disengage from the threat. Now, would we like it if he just turned around and walked away? That would probably be the chivalrous thing to do, the thing that we would all hope we would want to do, but we cannot put ourselves in that position. We're not putting the reasonable person test here. The man responded because she got physically aggressive with him. And there's a lot of women that are like, hey, she knew and she thought for a quick second that she was strong enough that she was going to knock him out or hurt him with those. And that's because society has told women you can do it and, you are going to be able to do it without repercussions. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below because I'm going to upload this as a separate clip. Do you agree with my assessment or do you think he should have just walked away? We're kind of split down the middle in the chat, and I understand both sides. My position is if your rights, and every single person has a right to operate, whether you're in a Walmart, a gas station, the library, wherever, without having to be assaulted. She assaulted him. I know there's not a lot of damage. There's not a lot of damage here. She still assaulted him. She violated his personal space. you could probably say that the second push was not necessary. I would say that it's still a case of self-defense. You guys let me know what you think. This is Rick Cast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. And the thing is, I feel like I have to qualify and be like, well, I wouldn't, I don't want to see the woman get hurt. But at the same time, she puts him in a bad position. And I don't think women understand this. And it's kind of the same thing when women wrestle or when women do like jujitsu fights with men. You see those videos and 14, 15-year-old boys and girls jujitsu fighting, which is like the worst videos in the world because the dude doesn't know what to do. Or guys when they have to wrestle. When I wrestled in high school, way back 25 years ago, I can say, we had a female on the wrestling team. And let me finish this point. And I didn't even want to like practice against her because I didn't want to hurt her. But at the same time, it's like, it's a no-win situation for men when you're put in these positions. Busted Knuckles says on Rumble, if you choose to shop at Walmart, you choose to accept everything that comes with shopping at Walmart. That's right. Walmart is the only place on the planet where I dress down to go into. It's the only place I dress down to fit in. If you ever see those online, like when boys have to get into jujitsu contest or jujitsu matches with girls, especially like in their teen years, that's like a whole different animal. Oh, I just feel terrible for them. And like boys have to wrestle girls because if a boy has to wrestle a girl in high school, A, you beat up a girl, or B, you lose to a girl. It's not fair for the boy. It's not. And I think people have to say that it's just not fair for him. So I think it's the consequences of the matriarchal culture that I talk about. And the fact is that we put men in a bad position. All right. We want you to be chivalrous. At the same time, go wrestle this girl. We want you to be chivalrous. All right, go get into a jiu-jitsu match with that girl. And the fact is, until women want to start acting with more grace and want to act in roles that are appropriate for chivalry, I don't see why a guy has to be put in this position. It is what it is. It's sorry. It's not a great thing, but at the same time, it is our current predicament. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's a good topic. I'm glad we were able to get into that, and I'm very good with it. All right. Let's get one. I do have one more topic, one more hot take, and it is in honor of yesterday's spat. So remember, we were told by our now no longer with us liberal that the left is not violent because of, the Feast of the Epiphany. Look at here. Man pleads guilty to assassination plot against Brett Kavanaugh. And that wasn't J6. That was back in the summer of love. California man and remember I brought that up yesterday, which was not brought up. California man accused of the intended assassination. That's the news, YouTube. Don't cut me. Of Brett Kavanaugh received sentence date on Tuesday. Nicholas Roski, 29, pleaded guilty to the charge of attempting to assassinate the Associate Justice of the Supreme Court. He faces 30 years to life, which would be served in a maximum security prison. Prosecutors also have declared it because his crime was, quote unquote, a felony that involved or was intended to promote a federal crime of terrorism. He is eligible to face terrorism related charges. As stated in the guilty plea in 2022, he developed a plan to take out one or more associate justices of the Supreme Court of the United States. So once again, the left, we're supporting the poll that was done yesterday by Rutgers University that said 55% of the people that were polled are backing or were thinking or would agree with the unaliving of President Trump or Elon Musk as a necessity. And this is just more contrary. This is more evidence to that. And everybody that's listening, I'm telling you, please be careful as we get closer to the summer because it's going to get nasty. This summer is going to get nasty. It's going to be asymmetrical. It's not going to be one thing, right? It's not going to be because of George Floyd or because of the lockdowns or because of this, the George Floyd. And people are like, oh, well, the Carmelo Anthony thing is going to spark protests nationwide. No, that'll be used here in Texas. In California, they'll use Tesla. In the Northeast, they'll use something else. They're going to go about this in an asymmetrical way. It's not going to be under one banner as they tried to do last time, right? The attacks on Teslas will continue, unfortunately, because that is now a target, and that's going to lead to one of our stories later. The Carmelo Anthony thing will be used here and in the South to promote the race war that the left and the elites want from us. The West Coast will be more anti-Elon stuff. The Northeast, I'll say this. It's April 8th. We haven't seen the event in the Northeast that will be a precursor to incidences in the Northeast. It may involve the removal of a criminal alien trespasser within the next 2 months. I don't think we've seen the event up north that will lead to protests and spicy events up there yet. So I think it's going to be an asymmetrical attempt by the left. It's not going to be under the banner of George Floyd anymore because they did it. They did it once. They can't do it again. That's right. That's absolutely gross too. Remember, if you've been watching the GoFundMe, it was $100,000. Then they soared past that. Then they went to 150. Then this is all outside money. This is all George Soros money that's being poured into because they're using it. And Jason Whitlock has been absolutely crucial in digging this up and pushing them back against this narrative that they're using it to gin up the race war. And so down in the South, we got to be careful, because especially here in Texas, we have two things of asymmetrical conflict that they can use. The first one will be Carmelo Anthony, and the second one will be Elon. So we have Elon Musk and it's not George Soros, it's his son, right? Alex. Thank you, Bellator. Soros. How about I just say Soros money? Because that's correct. The son is running, the little skinny pencil neck kid. He's running it now. But it's going to be asymmetrical down here, especially in Texas, because we have two things. And they will use it. They will come at us in multiple fronts. That's the thing. It won't be one big banner. Some people will try to tell you, oh, it's only going to be under Carmelo. No, because it's not going to work that well in other places, because they did the race riots in 2020. I think people do not have a penchant or do not have a lot of tolerance for that second time around. Because the George Floyd stuff only worked because of the lockdowns. The lockdowns fueled it because the George Floyd protests were the only way to get out. And so you don't have that now. It's a different set of circumstances. Pseudo-intellectuals will tell you that history repeats itself, but as any historian knows, history does not repeat itself, but it rhymes. It rhymes. And I'm seeing a lot of things kind of fall into place now that could that could lead to a very spicy summer. All right. Let's get to our first story of the day. Did I just get rid of it? I didn't. Hold on. I'm a silly guy. Hold on here. There it is. I like the history button. First story of the day. This is an interesting story. It's an interesting story here. And that's not me. I wish Barrett Media was my company, but it is not. So, very good source, though. From barrettmedia.com, Stephen A. Smith no longer ruling out possibility of running for president in 2028. Once again, I have to give it to Jason Whitlock. He called this 2 years ago when Stephen A. Smith put out his book, whatever it is. It was his version of Obama's Dreams of My Fathers. That's what this is. And Stephen A. Smith makes a lot of sense for the left to run in 2028. Because AOC's played out. Jasmine Crockett's a joke. Anybody that's Michelle Obama's podcast is tanking, so she doesn't have the cachet. She's proving that she doesn't have the cachet that people on the left thought she had. So they're trying to feel out potential candidates at this point. It's going to be 2026 soon enough. And then we're going to start running around and seeing people announce their candidacies. Stephen A. Smith makes a lot of sense. A, he's not very smart. You just read his columns or listen to his sports, his pontification on sports. He's not, he's not very good on any of these things. B, he is one of these guys that can go out and say that he can reach across the aisle. He's got a lot of influence. He's not tinged, if that's the right word. He's not hampered down by the Democratic label that AOC, Jasmine Crockett, Gavin Newsom, Michelle Obama, all of these other potential candidates have. They're all career politicians that are attached to trans kids, abortion, all of the Democratic talking points. Stephen A. Smith is not. He goes on Hannity. He goes on Megyn Kelly. He goes on the conservative podcast. They all praise him. They all tell him that he's not a politician. They're going to try the Donald Trump method with Stephen A. Smith. Who does Stephen, and this, once again, I'm just regurgitating the stuff that Jason Whitlock has laid out. Who does Stephen A. Smith work for? He works for ESPN. ESPN is owned by who? Owned by Disney. Bob Iger said he wanted to be president at one point in his life, but his company is in such shambles and the Disney Corporation has such a tinge. I think he can't do that anymore. But there is an opportunity to get somebody who has no baggage attached to them. He is not tainted by the Democratic Party. He's an outsider. He's a Donald Trump of the left. He's a well-known name. What was Trump's biggest thing is that people had known him for 20 plus years because he's been in their living rooms. He's been in these places. People thought they knew him. The same thing can apply to somebody like Stephen A. Smith. He's also a black man, so he fills that gap. They're not going to run a woman. They can't run a woman. They've run a woman 2 out of the 3 last election cycles, and Donald Trump has conveniently crushed both of them. So Stephen A. Smith is a black man. So black men tend to vote in blocks. If Stephen A. Smith is on the ballot, I think they would move back to the Democratic Party. B, he calls himself the thing that I hate, and I don't know if you hate it. He calls himself fiscally conservative, but socially liberal. One of those weak terms. And since he's a blank slate politically, he's not weighed down. He's a blank slate politically. He can just recite whatever talking points he's handed. And he's not good charismatic, but he's charismatic enough that he would dominate a debate stage because that's his bread and butter right now. Exactly. I think exactly like he's exactly like that. Yeah. McConaughey, all right, I won't be president someday. He couldn't even be, the thing about McConaughey is he couldn't even run for governor of Texas. Remember, he floated his name out before the last gubernatorial election. He's like, I think I want to be governor of the state. Right. And then people are like, what about guns? He's like, well, I think we should have assault weapon ban. And people went, what? You know what? I don't want to be governor. He got out of that real quick. But Stephen A. Smith, he's a Northeast kind of guy that has supposedly broad appeal because guys know him from sports. He could bring back a demographic that abandoned the Democratic Party. So don't count this out. This is not as stupid as a lot of people would think. After some polls, and also remember, polling data is calculated. It's crafted for a certain narrative. And a lot of polls have said Stephen A. Smith comes in second, third. He came in first in the last poll, starting to get that out there to soften the blow. Like, hey, Stephen A. Smith might run for president. Hey, man, what if he ran for president? And he goes on Bill Maher and he goes on all these places and they're like, would you do it? And he's like, I don't want to do it. But now he put out this post the other day. I have no desire to do it. I'm living a pretty good life right now. Life's been good. The last thing I would want to do is involve myself in politics. I've always perceived politicians as being professional beggars. I don't say that derogatorily or anything like that. It's just reality. You've always got your hand out for something. People always need favors in return. I'm not that guy. So I could never see myself as a politician. However, this is what he said next. Over the last few weeks, I've had no choice but to get more serious about it. I've been approached by people on Capitol Hill. I've been approached by people who are in elected office, whether it's governors or mayors or what have you. People have legitimately seriously asked me about it. I have no desire to be a politician, but I've decided I'm no longer going to close that door. I'm going to keep my options open. I'm going to entertain the possibility. If it comes late 2026, 2027, where this country is, and I think think it's an absolute mess, and there's a legitimate reason to believe that indeed I have a legitimate shot to win, I'm not going to rule it out. So he's running. Brick, my man Brick, what's up? Great to see you, my friend. What's going on? Happy to have you, brother. Thank you for showing up. I appreciate it. So, yeah, it's been a while, but I'm happy. I'm glad you guys are here. This is awesome. It makes me super happy. All my friends are here. All my online friends are here. So Stephen A. Smith has essentially told you he's running. And you see he's taking the hero's journey approach, the reluctant hero that gets sucked in because his country needs him. Because all these other politicians that are trying to convince you one way or another, they're not going to get the job done. They're all tainted by the last couple of election cycles. No matter what, I'm going to get to the martial law thing in a second. No matter what they say. So don't discount this. I think Stephen A. Smith is a legitimate contender. And I think if he runs, he would be the front runner. I really do. Because he would be their Donald Trump. A media personality that's not weighed down, that has a blank slate, that could appeal to a group that they lost. And he's not uncomfortable debating. Even if he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, he still doesn't back down. You know, he would be a Trump figure who would just yell and scream over the Democratic nominees, and he would just yell and scream his talking points. And people would say, oh, you know, he's aggressive and he's this and he's that and he's all these other things. And so I don't discount it. I don't. And I don't think you should either. All right, this is Rick Cast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, whether you're on Rumble or on YouTube. I'm please, before you leave, if you're only here for a short while, I thank you for hanging out. On your way out the door, just, you know, tap the like button, elbow the like button, be like the fat guy in Walmart, push the like button. I don't care. Just hit the like button on your way out, please. And thank you for hanging out. Let's get to this martial law story, which this is how slow the news day it is. It's all about tariffs right now. It's all about tariffs, which we'll talk about in one way in the next couple of stories. Fact check. Is Donald Trump declaring martial law? Why is this even a question? Because idiots on TikTok have made it a question. Who owns TikTok? The Chinese. The Chinese own TikTok. And what is the purpose of TikTok? Is to sow disinformation and discord, which is why TikTok needs to be banned. And it blows my mind that Donald Trump is fighting so hard to keep it. So this is from Kate Napoliski, who is a digital media journalist. I mean, she has a laptop job, from Newsweek.com. So social media platforms like TikTok have become fertile ground for unfounded theories, we would call them conspiracies, that President Donald Trump will declare martial law on April 20th, despite the fact that there's no evidence to that. While a signed executive order has triggered some debate over a possible use of the Insurrection Act, there's no credible evidence or reporting that martial law is being considered anywhere in the U.S. What is fomenting this? Or we have all this other stuff. This isn't the first time it's been used. It was actually used last time by George H.W. Bush. But the order reads like this. Within 90 days of the date of this proclamation, the Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of Homeland Security shall submit a joint report to Donald Trump, the president, whether to invoke the Insurrection Act of 1807. And that was signed, one of the first ones. So the Department of Defense, I think that's Hegseth, right? He's SecDef. Yeah, Secretary of Defense. And Christine Ohm have to submit a report by April 20th saying, assessing the situation at the southern border and recommending whether to invoke the Insurrection Act of 1807. So rumors online have spiraled into predictions of impending martial law using the January 20th executive order as cover. The hashtag martial law has been used 21,000 times on TikTok, which some people are referring to April 20th. And let's see, we have this example right here, this genius. let's take a look at this guy's thing here.
A lot of talk about this date. Now, this video isn't to confirm or deny that date, just simply to explain what to
Appalachia
expect
Prepper.
if it does happen. You might want to share and repost this one. When martial law is declared, life as you know it, it's over. The Constitution, suspended. Your rights, they're gone. The military takes control, replacing local law enforcement, and suddenly you're living under military rule. Now, what this means for you is curfews. Your movement is controlled. Step outside at the wrong time, and you're a target. Checkpoints, every road, every street monitored. No ID, you aren't getting passage. Unlawful searches, your home is no longer your own. They don't need permission. They take what they want when they want. That First Amendment, yeah, no free speech. Speak out, you disappear. No protest, no questioning, just obedience. They'll tell you it's for public safety, that they're here to restore order. But in reality, you're no longer in control of your own life.
Yeah, just ridiculous. And there are thousands. This guy had 16,000 likes because the left is so convinced that something like this is going to happen. You know, yeah, martial law on Easter, right? Yeah, from the pastor lady, probably. She does give one. Yeah, George W. used it after Katrina. Yeah, if he didn't use it during the Summer of Love, he ain't going to use it now. But the left is considered, because he's the mustache man, that he's going to declare martial law. It's going to be over. We're all going to get after it, and it's going to be terrible. The new unfounded social media claims about martial law appear to be conflating it with this pending April 20th deadline. So historically, the Insurrection Act has been used sparingly. It was invoked by, Saint Lincoln during the Civil War and by Ulysses S. Grant against the Ku Klux Klan, and more recently by George H.W. Bush during the 1992 Rodney King riots in Los Angeles. Martial law differs significantly from the Insurrection Act in both scope and application. While both involve military deployment within U.S. borders, martial law suspends civil liberties, including for citizens, and places military authority above civilian rule. Even Newsweek is like, yeah, this is a nothing burger. This is a nothing burger. But why are we covering it? A, there's not a lot to talk about today. And B, this is the continuing fomentation of tension here in these United States. This is another thing that would be used by our political opponents to gin up fear, along with everything else, to keep these people to keep them in a constant state of fear. Oh, it's going to be the Insurrection Act is going to be in, or there's going to be Tesla's going to take it, or the cars are going to be every time. And of course, this moron from Appalachia Prepper had no problem jumping on it for some likes, clicks, and retweets and things like that. He doesn't care if he foments dissent. He doesn't care if he gets people worried. 16,000 people agree with him. Now, I know 16,000 people out of 330 million is not a lot, but still there is an appetite for something to happen to give them an excuse. And this is what I talk about asymmetrically. And so, yes, there are people that are going around talking about a potential Insurrection Act. He's looking particularly orange there. But there's, yeah, no, you're right about that. It's fear that keeps their political party in states, which is why they do the videos that we talked about in the beginning of the show, whether it's Kristi Noem LARPing as a law enforcement officer, or Jasmine Crockett telling you to, we're not picking cotton anymore. And so it keeps people in line. And it keeps people ready to listen. It keeps them going back and doing what? Keeps them going back to TV. Keeps them going back to Rachel Maddow or to Glenn Beck or to whoever to get their bias reaffirmed, which is very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. So, no, there's no imminent threat of martial law, despite the fact that people on TikTok are trying to gin this up. But that's another reason why TikTok needs to be banned. Because it is a tool. It is a disinformation tool, as the left likes to say. All right. Let's see. I got two more stories here on Rickcast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell if you like what we're doing. And let's get to our next story. This is a very interesting story. I know a lot of you guys are going to enjoy the story. I think you guys are going to enjoy this story. From Mashable.com. Tesla is stopping the acceptance of Cybertruck trades because unsold trucks are piling up. It's crazy to believe that this thing, which I personally think I would drive one, but then again, I've already explained on this program time and time again my affinity for ugly cars. I like ugly cars because they're unique. Every other car looks the same nowadays. Ugly cars at least have a personality. Like the Pontiac Aztec was 20 years ahead of its time. The fact is, there's two things here. A, the Cybertruck was never going to be a widely accepted vehicle because it's just way too ugly looking. It's way too unique. B, there's not enough charging stations to really accept, the wide adaptation of electric vehicles. That's one of the, even with the Tesla supercharging network, which is the best network out there, it's not enough to convince people to buy them, because unless you're in the city or unless you are, your commute is, 20 minutes from work or something like that, it's not a daily driver. And if you're going to throw $100,000, that's with the tax rebates and everything like that, it's got to be a daily driver. A Cybertruck is a great car for somebody like Tim Pool, who's a millionaire, who's got a lot of money and can afford to have it as like a third car. Or it's great for people in Dallas, the rich parts of Dallas, to drive back and forth to Whole Foods or to HEB, or in California where you kind of have to drive one. They're not practical in snow. They're not practical in cold weather, because we've seen when it does snow, they don't do well. And crazy enough, electric vehicles don't do well in the cold. And because the batteries die in them. So they're not great vehicles that would necessitate a wide adoption of them. And the second thing is, they are the main target of the left on their vengeance against Tesla. The Model Ys and the Model X's and the stuff like that, they kind of blend in. They look like sedans and SUVs. So to anybody looking quickly, it's hard to identify that's the Tesla. But the Cybertruck, it's a Tesla right there. It is, because of the crazy concept that it is. And so people have used that. That is the one that is getting all of the ire of the left. They're getting keyed up. People are smearing, all kinds of gross bodily fluids on them. People are getting attacked in them. And that's going to drive people away from it. Honestly, this car is probably not worth. Cars are inflated anyway. We've already talked about that. This car is probably worth, in a fair market, 50 grand. I wouldn't pay more than 60 grand for one of those. And that's the high end. I wouldn't pay anything above that. So the fact they want to charge you $100,000 is ludicrous speed. Anyway, Tesla is reportedly refusing Cybertruck trade-ins as inventory. Meanwhile, almost $200 million worth of Cybertruck inventory is piling up. Rick might be able to get one soon enough if they keep dropping. According to Electric, that's funny. Cybertruck owners that have tried to trade in their vehicles were told that Tesla does not accept its own vehicles as trade-ins. Additionally, Tesla is reportedly telling drivers that have owned Cybertrucks for a while to go through the Lemon Law process, which protects owners who have bought an irreparable defective car, but only within a short window after purchasing it. That varies by state. Compounding the issue, Tesla has almost 2,400 Cybertrucks sitting in its inventory, which amounts to $192 million based on the Cybertruck's roughly $80,000 starting retail price. I don't know if it's $80,000, but yes, it's not a dumb question. It's not a dumb question at all, because the other ones, the Model Ys, the Model X's, they look normal enough. That's why a lot of people buy them, because they look like sedans. If you get one that's blacked out, you can't tell the difference between that and a BMW. the Cybertruck is so unique because of its design that it's a Tesla. It is very much it as Crotchety's telling you in the chat, it's so unique that it's going to tell people, hey, I drive a Tesla. Yeah, the crazy thing is people, when the Ford Lightning came out, they thought that was going to be the game changer because it looked like a normal F-150. The problem is anybody outside, Tesla makes good electric cars. Everybody else makes, I mean, we had Tony Ortiz on the show, and he drove an Audi electric car. He said it was the worst car he ever driven because normal ICE internal combustion engine car makers, they don't know how to make actual electric cars. So any electric car that's not a Tesla is crap, or like the Rivians, but the Rivians are trash anyway. I don't like those. But this is crazy. Cybertrucks have faced multiple recalls since the launch. In March, Tesla recalled nearly every Cybertruck ever made because of the cant rail, the steel piece above the doors, was falling off. That's the 8th Cybertruck recall to date. There's also the issue of Tesla CEO Musk creating a bit of a PR issue for Tesla and Cybertrucks. So that's another thing. So they're having their issues. This piece right here is apparently falling off. I don't know if you've ever watched the safety ratings, but if you get your hand caught in like this front trunk or the back trunk, because it's pure steel, it'll cut your friggin' hand off. So that's not a great thing. It's such a unique vehicle. You can call it ugly. That's my nice way of calling it. It's a unique butterfly. It's ugly. Yeah, I get it. Still, I like it. I would buy one for 60. I would try to convince my wife, at first she was like, "Oh yeah, we can do it." Nowadays she's like, "That thing's ugly as sin, Rick." My wife goes with me on a lot of stuff, and at first she was okay with the Cybertruck, and now she's like, "No, we're not doing that." Maybe if it was cheaper I could convince her, but she is definitely not on board, and I get that. That's fine. So yeah, it's so bad that they're actually not accepting Cybertrucks as traded. They're like, guess what? You're stuck with it. We're not taking it. No takebacks. Yeah, right. We're not taking this truck back. You got to keep it or go through the lemon law process. And if it's not a lemon and you don't like it because people are targeting you, well, maybe somebody else, maybe another dealer will take it. I remember when I was taking my car. I have a used Land Rover Discovery diesel, which I really love. And I took it to Land Rover for its basic maintenance. And there was one of these in the lot. Somebody had traded it in for a Land Rover. And they still wanted $112,000 for a used Cybertruck. It's nuts. The price on these things. And you're right, Bellator, all new car prices are ridiculous. We talked about that in a previous story last week when Ferrari was saying, oh, well, we're going to have to slap 10% on our imports. And people are like, cars are already pretty expensive. If you notice, Dodges are slashing prices on 2023, 2024s. So is Ford, so is Chevy, so is everybody, because cars are sitting on the lots because people don't want to invest in them. And the second thing is most new cars, and we've talked about this, and this will be the last thing I said, and this kind of goes with Tesla. Any new vehicle you buy today is not going to be of the same quality as 15 years ago. For some reason, it's even gotten Toyota. All new cars have terrible reliability records. And so, Bubba, that's a good point. It's going to kill you when I tell you that if you have OnStar in your car or even Sirius XM, you already have a kill switch in your car. And that's, if you have OnStar, or I think Ford has their version of it or whatever, if you have any of those concierge plans, or even if you have any satellite connection to your car, there's a kill switch in it. They've had a kill switch in them for a while, but the newer generations, you are correct, they have a dedicated kill switch in them. But they've essentially had kill switches in cars for 15, ever since OnStar or any of these things kind of came up. So you are right. There is a dedicated kill switch in them now, but they've had essentially a kill switch in them. If you have any type of satellite connection to your car, they have one. Like the Land Rover I have is a 2019. I don't use Sirius XM, but there is a satellite connection to the vehicle. So if they want to kill it, they could. So that's what it is. You know, it is what it is. And, you know, I feel bad for the people that plopped down $100,000 for a car. Busted Knuckles, our auto guy. I'm actually very happy that, well, first of all, I'm happy Busted Knuckles is in our chat over there on Rumble because it's great to see him. And secondly, he's saying it takes 3 years for a vehicle from concept to on the road. Our current vehicles are Biden vehicles. Yeah, you're right. And those vehicles, if I'm right, Busted, they had to redo their entire internal combustion engines for better MPGs. So they ditched the big V8s. They ditched the good old internal combustion engines. Like, that's what's happened. The best one is the Toyota Tacoma. No, Tundra. The Toyota Tundra. The Toyota Tundra used to have that big, reliable V8. Right. And that thing was an absolute tank. It wasn't the most powerful. You couldn't tow the most with it, but you could run that old Toyota Tundra through everything. Now they have this stupid Max Force they have this Max Force turbo, and that engine is falling out of the car. Yeah, I got it. Yes. I was right. Alberto said I'm correct. Yay. So the Max Force engine is crap. It's falling out of the car. The Ford Raptor used to have this big honking V8, and guys were like, yes, I will buy this big, huge V8 because it's awesome. Now they're like, okay, here's the EcoBoost, which my brother-in-law has an F-150 with the EcoBoost. He calls it the WecoBoost engine. And the crazy thing is, like, guys try to tow, you know, guys who actually buy trucks to tow stuff, they try to tow with those turbos, and on paper it's like, well, you get the same amount of towing capacity and all that, but it works the engine so much harder when you're trying to tow with a turbo 6 than a naturally aspirated V8. And yeah, you can't tow anything with a Cybertruck, despite the fact you see people online saying, look at all the stuff I'm towing. And I look at them and I go, I can tow, or I can put that stuff that you have in your truck bed in my Honda Fit, and it would do the same thing. So yeah, it's all, and that's what's happening. That's what's happening to the Toyotas. The engines, they have entire replacement engines at the Toyota factories when people just bring them back. The ball bearings come apart. It's sad because the Tundra used to be like the most reliable, like heavy duty pickup truck. Now it's no better than a Ford, and it's ugly too. I hate all the new ones, the way they look. Anyway, so that's the story there here on Rickcast, ladies and gentlemen. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. If you got to duck out, I get it. Just do me a huge favor. Hit that, pound that like button, smash that like button, super kick that like button. Help the show reach a larger audience. And you guys are just killing it today. I love it. Last story of the night. And this one, you know, everybody was kind of giving some pretty funny comments about it beforehand. And I tend to agree with you, but this is very interesting. From the HollywoodReporter.com, China is mulling a ban on Hollywood films released in response to the Trump tariffs. So this is what it's about. So today, Trump slapped an additional 50% tariff on China. It's going to start tomorrow. It's not today, but the total amount of tariffs that Trump has slapped on China is 104%, which I think is awesome. I am for economic protectionism. I've said it 100 times on this program. I'm fine with it. The rest of the world has treated us like a strip mall with we have been treated like a strip mall with an airfield next to it for the better part of 50 years. And everybody else they've taken jobs with them. They've taken all these things, and corporations have profited from it while American workers have been left behind. Americans have been left behind. I'm fine with economic protectionism as a small response. So Trump slaps this, and then China goes, oh, well, we will ban Hollywood film in response. And people are like, do it. Let me see. Just hold on for me real quick. Should have prepped this earlier, but there's a guy named Alan No on Film Threat, and he has been covering this pretty good on his Twitter feed. Where are you, Alan? Come on, help me out, buddy. A lot of Catholic pipe. Go buy a Catholic pipe from Catholic Pipe Company. Okay, here he is. Alan, no, from Film Threat. And so let me just tell you about this. Everybody freaks out about China banning Hollywood films because Hollywood will tell you, well, that's a huge box office. If we don't get the Chinese market, we're not going to make our money back. Well, Alan is here to say what the mainstream media won't tell you is that China no longer plays a major player in the theatrical box office. This past weekend, China brought in only 15 million for the Minecraft movie, which made like a 300 million worldwide, 7 million for Mufasa, and 3% of the total box office for Deadpool and Wolverine and Inside Out 2. China has not been a major player in the last 2 years. And somebody asked, why is that? And he said, China's economy is on the verge of collapse. Citizens are more likely to support their own country than others. And there's this movie, Nizan, which is a Chinese movie. They all support their own economy. And then he supported his claims with this next one up here. This was the global box office for these films in the last couple years. And everybody says, well, we need the Chinese box office because for a while, the Fast and the Furious movies, pretty much any movie from Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, they were pulling in a lot of money from China. So the idea when we have to get our money from China. No, this is the total box. Like Inside Out 2 made 1.6 billion. China only represented 3% of its total box office. So they only got 11 billion from there. Because remember, anything you get in China, China takes most of it. China takes over 50% of the box office in if you have a film there. So the studio take 75%. So they got 25%. They got 11 million. Deadpool and Wolverine, 1.3 billion. They got 14 million. Moana 2, 1 billion. They got 1 million from it. Despicable Me 4 million. Wicked, 285,000. Mufasa, 1.9. Doom Part 2, 4 million. Godzilla versus Kong, which, that those kind of movies tend to do better overseas because it's just big monkey and big lizard smacking each other. There's not a lot of dialogue. So those tend to perform better overseas. Made 10. And that's only 8% of its box office. So you take away the $10 million, it still makes over 500 million worldwide. Kung Fu Panda 4, 3 million. Sonic the Hedgehog, 445,000. So this idea is we need to have the Chinese box office. We need to make films more international. What does that mean? More effects driven, less dialogue because they don't want to have to redub all of it. So what they do is they make it more of a spectacle and they make it less dialogue heavy. So that way it will translate easier to international box office. What does that mean? That means the quality of film for you and I goes down because it's not made for us. It's not made for us. It's made for an international audience. International being China. And then you'll have things like John Cena, who, he went around and begged because he said Taiwan was its own country. And then the studio was like, you need to go back and apologize. So he had to go back and apologize. And then you see things like studios will include Taiwan as part of China and all these other kinds of things to bow down to that box office, to bow down to the CCP. And now we're seeing like, hey, man, it's not the box office behemoth that it was. And Alan is correct that the Chinese economy is in collapse because people talk about demographics here and how we have a demographic problem. People fail to realize when we're told that China is going to be the next economic superpower, it's a manufacturing economy. It's not a consumer-based economy. Most of the people there live on less than $1,500 a month. Secondly, there are more men than women. The men versus women ratio is absolutely terrible. Why? Because China, for a long time, valued males, right? If the one-child policy also, have one child. And so only having one child and valuing males, what a shock that would lead to a huge population of males and not a lot of females. It's so bad that there are gangs I'm trying to put this delicately, along the North Korean border. There are women that are so desperate to get out of North Korea that they are willing to get into China in exchange for being concubines, essentially. Not willing, even if you're getting what I'm saying. That's how badly the lack of Chinese men to women are. So China is in a really bad position demographic wise, and they're really in a bad, like they're not a consumer economy. They're a manufacturing economy. And that's why they're freaking out with these tariffs and with the fact that I know Apple just announced that they're going to move their iPhone production from China to India. I mean, it's not the US, but people are moving stuff out of China because China has been taking advantage of us for so long. And so maybe, I mean, I guess they do have a 3-child policy now, but the demographics, I don't think it's going to work right now. Because right now there's not enough females. Legitimately, and the problem is, even if they have 3, unless all 3 are girls, it's not going to help the population. Now they might get into CRISPR and try to, engineer females, which would be a whole different Pandora's box, would be terrible. But that's just something that's very interesting. This headline is that, the Chinese are responding to Donald Trump by getting, banning films. Guess what? Even the films that go there, they're not being patronized. So people need to hear that, because that's going to be used as a fear tactic. Oh, well, China's going to ban Hollywood films. First of all, nobody watching this program lives in China. So what the hell does that mean to any of us? It means nothing. If Hollywood has to make films for America again, that would be A, completely crazy, and B, it would be interesting. Now, I'll repeat the joke that everybody said. Hot Dog 990, first comment of the night, said, if China bans U.S. films, I never thought I'd actually agree with China. Oh, yeah. So it's very interesting in that regard. So the legacy media is going to tell you, look at how badly we're doing. China's not going to take our films. I told you, and thanks to Alan No from Film Threat, China is no longer the box office power it was 10 years ago. It isn't. And so this is nothing more than everything else China's threat. It's a paper tiger threat. And I'm glad you guys are watching, because you'll know next time somebody tries to tell you that. Just tell them China represents at most 10% of a global box office haul. It is no longer the power that it used to be. Yeah, that's also a problem in Japan and South Korea. Women have been infected with the idea that they should be boss babes. In Japan is the worst case, because the reason why their population got into that culture is actually the United States. After the end of World War II, the U.S. was particularly invested in population control in Japan, because they didn't think that, if they had this population explosion like we had here, the baby boomers, their economy wouldn't be able to handle it. So they conscientiously, purposely kept the population low, encouraging abortions and all of these other things for a long time. So that's also part of the fall of the U.S. But feminism has infected China and South Korea. South Korea's replacement rate is terrible, which is why you're seeing Muslims get into Muslims are being imported into South Korea and into Japan, because apparently nobody can see what's happened to London. Everybody sees what happened to London. It's like, it's not going to happen to us, even though it's going to. Anyway, that's it for this episode of Rickcast. I am going to take a 45-minute break, and then I'm going to watch the next episode of Daredevil. And I will be live streaming my reaction to Daredevil tonight. If you're interested, it'll be on Rickcast Reviews, which is a separate YouTube channel. And it's a separate Rumble channel. Just look for Rickcast Reviews. And if you want to hang out with me there, I'd love to see that. If not, I will see you tomorrow here on Rickcast. Before you head out, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for every single one of you guys that hung out with me tonight. Please hit the like, subscribe, share, the notification bell, all those things. It really helps me out with the expansion of the program and getting more people in. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope to see you guys tomorrow night. Hope to see you back here on Rickcast. Until then, folks, I'll either see you in a little bit for Daredevil. And if not, I will definitely see you tomorrow. God bless. And until that day comes, free Dexter Taylor.